Hello everybody, welcome back to Piano Practice Partner. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the lessons and the practice alongs. Last time we were looking at arpeggios. So, what the hell was an arpeggio? We learnt that an arpeggio was taking a chord. Here, we're playing a C major. And instead of playing the chord all together, we would play the individual notes of the chord. And we added the eighth, the octave up here. And so last time in the lesson, we learned all the major scale chords and made them into arpeggios. In the practice along, we practiced with our right hand, we practiced with our left hand, we played a bit with putting both together. So if you haven't checked that out, please go back and check that out. So we learnt C major, D major. We learnt E major as well for the first time. We hadn't done that before. F major, G major, A major. And we learnt another new chord, B major. How fun. And there were two really good reasons for us learning arpeggios. One being the fact that we're getting to work our dexterity in our hand and our fingers, as we're not playing the chords in a block pattern. We're now having to articulate individual fingers in sequence. So that was one advantage. The other advantage was being able to easily locate the third and the fifth of the chord we're playing. So we know C major very well. This is fine for us to play. But what happens when we come to a new chord? So B major was a new chord. So now we know where the third and the fifth are of B major, as well as the first and the octave. And the real advantage here is so far when we've been orientating ourselves around chords, we've primarily looked from the root position where the 1 would be. So in B major, we would know that the 1 was the B. But if for some reason we needed to figure out what the third and the fifth was very quickly, we now know how to easily locate the third and the fifth because of these arpeggios in any of these major chords. So that's really cool because now we're expanding and exploring our competence of finding where notes are within the keyboard. So arpeggios really, really useful. We also understood that arpeggios weren't solely reserved for major chords. So we have obviously been learning the major arpeggio here, but we could very easily make this into a minor arpeggio. So, what are we going to be learning today? We are going back to the 2-5-1. It's very exciting. We learnt this, I don't know how many lessons ago, and expanded our knowledge from the 2-5-1, from the basic 2-5-1 to then playing sevenths and ninths with the 2-5-1, and then inversions. So we were getting to layer on top of this quite simple sequence, and then expand and hear the difference a simple change like adding a seventh or adding a ninth would make. But there's so much more we can do with this. And also, we understood that this was a progression that could be applied to any other key. So far, we've learnt the C major 2-5-1, but we're going to look at the 2-5-1 in a different key this week. Very exciting. Before we get stuck in there, I just want to take a moment for those of us who saw the video about the 2 here. So I'm really loving seeing all your comments about what you're practicing, what you're learning, your very kind words, but also mistakes or questions that you have pointed out. And one of our esteemed colleagues on this channel has pointed out that there's a difference between the lowercase number and the uppercase number. So if you missed that, here's the difference. When it's lowercase, it denotes it's a minor chord. When it's uppercase, it denotes that it's a major chord. So if we didn't have the little I's here, this would be the major second chord. So in C major, our second chord is the D, so it'd be a D major. But because we have these 2 dots, boom, boom, that means it's a minor chord. Really important distinction. So please keep your comments coming because stuff like that helps me out, helps you out. Everyone benefits, everyone wins. It's a wonderful, wonderful little community we're building here. Thank you so much. And if you haven't already subscribed, please consider doing so and join this wonderful little community we've got going on. So let's recap the 2-5-1 in C major. We're finding the second, the fifth, and the first chord of C major. As we know, C major goes from C to C, all white notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we know where our 1 is. 2 is right next door. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is up here. But hang on, last week we learned about arpeggios. So we would already know that's the 5 without having to count up. Because we've practiced a technique that also helps us locate something really easily. So there we go. 2, 5, 1. And remember, it's the minor 2. So when we play this as a chord, D minor, G major, C major. I'm very, very quickly going to rattle through everything we learned about the 2-5-1 in C major to refresh our memories. If I'm going too quick, my apologies. But remember, there is that lesson a couple of weeks ago that's on this that goes nice and slowly, taking us through it for the first time. So please refer back to that if any of this is unclear. So there's our 2-5-1 in its root positions. So we're playing the... So here's the 2-5-1 in C major in the root positions. So in each chord we're playing the first, the third, and the fifth. We then expanded upon that by adding the 7th. So if in D, the octave, the 8, is the D here, we'll just take it a whole tone down. So we added the 7ths. Already it sounds a lot richer, a lot more full. And then we looked at adding a 9th. But we realised that we've sort of run out of fingers. So what we did, instead of playing the 1st, 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, we ended up shifting the thumb up to where the index is. So then we're playing the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th here. And to fill the 1st, we'd add that in our left hand. Play that again. Layering again on top of that, we realized that jumping from here to here down to here was quite a lot of movement. So we added inversions. So there we are playing the 2-5-1 with the 7ths and 9ths, but we're not having to move our right hand very much at all. We're moving these top 2 fingers down, going to the 5, and then these bottom 2 fingers down, going to the 1. We took all of that and we made that into Maroon 5 Sunday Morning. That was really exciting to take this concept, add some more stuff onto it, understand why we're doing it, and then suddenly arrive at a song as an added bonus. So there's one more thing I'd like to look at before moving into the 2-5-1 in a different key. If we take the same thing I was just playing there, so we're playing the D with the 7th and the 9th here, and then adding this inversion for the G. So all we've done there is we've taken our top 2 fingers down, and then going to the C, we take our bottom 2 fingers down. What I'd like us to do, if we look at the movement of our middle and our pinky finger, the middle finger is going down half a step, and the pinky finger is going down a whole tone here. I'd like us to move the pinky down half a step as well. So instead of coming down to this D here, it's actually coming down to this black note here, this E flat. Sounds a bit odd still. We need to do one more thing. With our index finger, we are going to move half a step down as well. So before it stayed still, didn't it? But now I want it to move down half a step as well. So these 3 fingers, index, middle, and pinky, are all moving half a step. Ooh. And then if we resolve down to the C, it's exactly the same as we played before. So we're flattening this note here and this note here down to the black notes. So for ease and clarity, just to make sure we're all on the same page, these top 3 notes we're flattening. So we're taking them all down half a step. And then the C is exactly the same. So the middle finger stays where it is. And it's really these 3 that shift. So it's nice that that middle finger stays the same between this chord, the 5, and the 1, because we're using it almost as like a little locator. I'm going to play it down the octave so you can hear the richness of that chord, because it sounds a bit odd to our ears, perhaps, because it's new to us. But listen what happens when I play it down the octave. Nice, right? Richer, more complicated. We don't have to play that all the time, but it's giving us options. So we could play the original version, and then on another cycle through, we could add these flattened notes. Beautiful. So that's just a little bit of extra flavoring you can layer on top should you wish. Flattening those notes on the major 5 before heading to the 1. So now, as promised, let's look at the 2-5-1 in a different key. That was the C major 2-5-1. Now, we are going to look at the 2-5-1 in A minor. Now, let's not worry. There's a lot of crossover between the C major scale and the A minor scale. I'm going to play the C major scale, and I'm going to play the A minor scale and see if you can notice any similarities. So here's the C major scale. And here's the A minor scale. Do you spot the difference? Or the similarities, rather? That's right, there are no black notes. In the C major scale, they're all white notes. And in the A minor scale, all white notes. So that's really, really handy for our brains. We're not having to worry about sharps and flats at this stage. So if the A is the 1, where's the 2? Right next door. It is our B here. So let's write that down here. We're going to say B. And where's the 5? Well, we could count up, couldn't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's this note here, the E. But remember, we've also been learning some arpeggios recently. Now, we learnt the A major arpeggio, didn't we? But the difference there is the 3rd. So we'd still be able to locate our 5th here. And do you remember how we made a major chord into a minor chord? Again, it's the 3rd, so we'd flatten the 3rd. We'd take it down half a step. So the A minor arpeggio would be. But we've still got our 5th where it was. So a nice, easy way for us to locate the 5th. And then we know the 1 is the A. So we're going B, E, A. And if I play the C major one. Ooh. So let's now build up these chords. So we know that the 2 chord here, because it's in lowercase, has to be a minor. This has to be the minor 2nd. And we haven't really looked at B. We touched on it last week, didn't we? Because we learnt the arpeggio. That was B major. And if you remember at the end of that video, we looked at then, okay, flattening the 3rd, so this becomes B minor. But then we also spoke about if we dropped this note to all white notes, this chord, this was a new chord to us, called a half diminished chord. We didn't get into what a half diminished chord was, and nor shall we today, that's for a future lesson. But this is a half diminished chord. Now, there's a really interesting thing here. We're in A minor, okay? So, we know we need to find the minor 2nd, and we've just established that's B minor. So we should be playing this, right? And then to the 5. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? But we're in A minor, and remember, there are no sharps or flats in A minor. So the fact that we've got this note in here, this black note, doesn't fit with A minor. So we need to take this note down to play it here. So it's this half diminished chord that we've just been speaking about. Because A minor has no sharps and flats, so we have to play this chord accordingly. But hang on a minute. Some of you will have noticed I've gone from this, no sharps and flats, to then playing this E with this black note here. What's going on? Mixed messages or what? So, if I were to play this without the black note, so we're going to flatten that to make it E minor. Do you hear that? I'm going to play the original 251 we learnt in C twice round, and then I'm going to play what I just played on A minor and see if you can spot the difference. One more time. Now down to A minor. Doesn't sound bad, but it does sound different to my ear from the structure of this. Going from the minor 2 to the 5, and this is the important thing, right? We spoke about how this creates tension to then resolve to the 1. It has got some tension, but not as much as it could have. So even though we've just applied that rule of what A minor has no sharps or flats, and so rather than the B minor being this, we'd flatten it to keep to the scale of A minor. When we get to our E, even though it's meant to be a major chord, why doesn't the same rule apply here? Why don't we flatten this note? It's because this has to be the dominant chord. And to make it dominant, it has to be the major. So we have to defy the rule we've just established and make this a major chord, which means going against the scale and adding in this black note here to make it the dominant chord. The 5 chord is the dominant chord, and this is the tonic. So we're following in the 251 the minor 2 to the dominant to the tonic to give them their technical terms. And the only way we make this a dominant chord is by making it the major. So we have to. If we made it into a minor, it's no longer the dominant chord. It's just different. I don't fully know how technically it's different, other than the fact that it's now a minor chord. I'll play them both side by side. I'll play the wrong version, then I'll play the right version, and just see if you can hear the difference. And now the right version with the dominant properly played. Do you hear the difference? Sort of. Maybe it's a nuance that as beginners we don't fully understand, but anyway, that's what we're doing. We're playing this minor 2, which has a flattened note because of rules, and then we're playing this E dominant because of rules, and then we're playing the tonic, the 1, because of rules. Rules, but they're important. Hopefully by us understanding them, we're going to be able to utilize them more fruitfully in the future. So wonderful stuff. I'm going to play that a few times so you can just really hear it. B half diminished. E. A minor. Because remember, we're in A minor. Sounds kind of cool, huh? To my ear, this sounds very, although I can't play Latin, it sounds very Latin-y. If I put a bit of So there's something new we can play with. What I love about this instrument and learning it with you is the fact that we can learn some theory, do some technical stuff, but quite instantly go, oh, there's an application there already. Just by taking this sequence, already you can hear it's really fun, huh? So we're going to practice the inversions and adding sevenths and ninths to this now. We're going to take exactly what we did when we were playing the C major 251. I'm going to look at adding sevenths and then ninths, and then look at how we apply inversions to that. All in this new function of A minor. So let's take our first chord. To add the seventh, do you remember what we did? We basically looked for where the eighth was and moved a step down. So if we're starting on B, the eighth would be the octave here, and then we moved a whole tone down. So there, quite easily, is our seventh. Now let's go to the dominant. So where's the seventh here? Very good, it's the D. So let's go between those two. And then down to the A. And where would the seventh be? Very good, it's our G. So all that together sounds like this. Beautiful. Already, just adding that seventh. Sounds so much richer and fuller. So now let's look at adding the ninth. And do you remember how we quite simply did this with the C major? So now let's look at adding the seventh and the ninth. And if you remember how we did this with our 251 in C major, we just bumped everything up. So the thumb replaces the index replaces the middle replaces the pinky. You get what I mean. So instead of that, we're going whoop. And now we have our pinky free for the ninth. And how we found the seventh is how we can find the ninth as well, right? So we know that the octave C here is 8. So going one step down is the seventh. So if that's 8, one step up is the ninth. So taking that, shifting our fingers, and now we know that the ninth is one above the C. So let's take that and apply it to our B half diminished chord here. So we just had the seventh there. Now let's bump everything up. Okay. There goes the C. The ninth is the C, because if we think our B is here, one up is the C. Beautiful. So that's our funky, huh? Now let's do it for our E chord. This is what we were playing a moment ago, so let's shift everything up. And if we start on E, one up from E is F, so we're playing F as the ninth in the top there. And now let's go down to the A. There was the seventh, so let's shift everything up. And if we started on A, where's A? Where's our ninth? It'd be the B. Very cool. So let's just piece that together again. And for E's, because this is new to us, let's start in our root position with the seventh and then shift up. So we're going to play the chord first with the seventh and then let's shift up. Great. And now let's do the same for E. And now for A. Great. Shifting up. And then to the E. Shifting up. And down to A. Shifting up for the ninth. Fun. That's so exciting. Quite quickly, look, we've taken a previous lesson's worth of knowledge, applied it to A minor, and can build chords and added sevenths and ninths. So cool. Well done, everybody, because that's not an easy thing. We've only been playing for 3 months, but to understand it to this level, I think is a real achievement. So well done. Now, there's another thing we can do to make life easier for ourselves, and that is applying inversions. So let's have a little look. So if we recall what we did for our 2-5-1 is C. Remember what made that nice and easy for us to sort of get our heads around? I'm playing it right now. We move these top 2 fingers down, and then we move these bottom 2 fingers down. So let's see if that applies to A minor. So let's find our B first. And now let's shift these top 2 fingers down half a step each. Oh, that works. Remember, half a step between F and E is just there, right next door, so there's no note between. And then half a step for our A up here would come down to this black note. So let's just try that. Amazing. And now we'd shift our bottom 2 fingers. But one other thing happened then. I also had to shift my top finger, because if you remember, we had the black note here for the dominant chord, for the 5 chord, but not for the 1. So even though my hands position like this, and I have my pinky playing the black note for the dominant 5, when we come back and shift down, I'm also having to shift off that note to come back into our A minor, which has no black notes, all whites. There we go. We're now playing the 2-5-1 with the 7th in an inversion. And that's taken us, what, like a minute to figure out? It's so cool. And again, this is all new to us, so it's just cycling some bits and really getting used to how the hand moves and just getting it lodged in our brains. There's no rush on this. Beautiful work, everyone. I just want to quickly explain a bit more why we're learning another 2-5-1. Why not something new? Because 2-5-1s are going to crop up all over the place. It's really handy for us to know. But a lot of these concepts, as we've been learning together already, easily apply and stack on top of each other. So we're not just learning something in isolation and then never using it again. We then find in a future lesson, we go, oh, that thing that we learned a couple of weeks ago is really useful here. I'm going to pick it up and put it down in this new context. So we're looking at this 2-5-1 in A minor for a very specific reason. No sharps and flats, right? No sharps and flats. There's a bit of synergy and connection there, right? So what happens if we play the 2-5-1 in C major, followed by the 2-5-1 in A minor? I'm going to play them in the root positions so it's nice and clear and simple to begin with. Back to C. Now to A minor. Cool, huh? There's a real progression there and a constant back and forth between tension and resolution. I'm going to embellish a bit more now and add some 7ths in. Now I'm just going to add a few more bits of ornamentation, some 7ths and 9ths, maybe that cheeky little flattened thing we learned earlier, and just play just so we can hear what we're heading towards. Really, really exciting. So that is a little taster of what we're heading towards. And maybe next week or the week after, we're going to add another chord, add a little passing note, and structure that in a way that's going to teach us a really famous jazz standard. I'm not going to say what it is. Maybe you already know it. Maybe you can figure it out. But it's something to look forward to. Another song we're getting to learn with the materials we've been given. So that's what we're heading towards. But let's come back to this 2-5-1 here. So we've basically figured out the inversions for the 7ths, right? But what about the 9ths? This is the 7th moving down. Well, as we come into the 9ths, it's a lot, isn't it? So what we did last time, which I think was really handy, was we wrote down the notes. Okay, so we've got the B half diminished here. I'm just going to write B for now, and we're going to write down the notes here. So we've got D, F, A, and C. Now when we go up to the E, we've got A flat, B, D, F. So let's just check that. A flat, B, D, F. Great. And when we came back to the A, we've got C, E, G, B. So there we go. There's our sevenths and ninths in those chords. Good catch. Thank you very much. Wild applause. This is what we did last time, and I think it was really handy because looking at these two chords, we can see where the crossover is and where the differences are. So we've got a shared D here, and we've also got a shared F here. So we know when we're building this chord for B, we're going to keep our D where it is, and we're going to keep our F where it is. So it's these two fingers that have to move, okay? It's the A and the C. And look, we've got an A flat, so this A just has to move down half a step. And then this top finger, this C, has to move down to where? To a B, which is also just half a step. So again, it's just another little half step down. So very easily with that seventh and ninth, all we have to do is move the top two fingers down. Half a step. Now from here, we've got D, F, A flat, and B. So let's look what's happening. We've got a shared B here. Everything else looks like it changes, but if we look at what those notes are, we've got a D here, which has to go down to C, so it's just a tone down. We've also got F here, which could be our E by moving half a step down. And then we've also got an A flat here, which again could move half a step down to G. And there we go, easy. So all we were doing there, these bottom three fingers are just moving down. Beautiful. So something that could feel quite overwhelming, again, just by writing out, having a little look at the shared notes, where the differences are, how far away the differences are, often not by much, half a step, maybe a whole step. So we figured out that we now just move these top two half a step down, and these bottom three half a step down. And now we can play the 2-5-1 in the second inversion in A minor in the space of a few short seconds. So now we can play that three different ways in a very short space of time. We've got our primary position. We've now got, with the sevenths, we could move down. And now we've got with our sevenths and ninths. So cool. Now when we're looking at inversions, we've done one inversion there, right? Because if we're thinking of the chord as having three primary positions, because we can think of it as in being the first, second, and the third in its very basic form. I've come back to C major because, again, it feels very comfortable to understand. So we've got C, E, G. So we can either play this C, E, G, or we can play it as E, G, C. Or we can play it as G, C, E. So there's another inversion there. And then back to C, E, G, original position, just an octave higher. So by the same conceit, we can do the same thing down here. So for this B half diminished, we've shifted it up to, and we can do it one more time. Yeah? So there's a slight omission because actually I've said we've shifted it up. We're not playing the B when we've shifted it up here, are we? We're playing D, F, A, C. Where's the B? Because we're playing the seventh and the ninth in this hand, we're actually playing the B in our left hand. Right? Conceptually, with this, we're playing that first inversion because we've shifted up here. So we need to do the same again to really make sure we've got everything out of this inversion. So if we're shifting up again, we play this. So let's take that D, F, A, C, and let's just switch it up. So all we need to do now for this last inversion is we can quite simply just take this first note and place it right at the very end. So let's just do that just for ease. I'm going to say the D's there. I'm going to say the A flat is there. And I'm going to say the C is there. And we're just going to rub this out. Gone. So now we've got F, A, C, D. Now And then we go to this chord. We've now got B, D, F, A, and then E, G, B, C. Again, there's a lot of moving around, so let's look at that. F, A, C, D. We know there's a shared D here, so that's going to stay where it is. We know there's a shared F there, so that's going to stay where it is. The A goes down to A flat here, and the C goes down to here. So we're going to go from... So it's the middle two fingers now that move down. Breaking from convention. So far we've been sort of thinking of it as top two, bottom two. But now, in this new inversion, this is middle two. And what happens now, when we go from the E down to the A? What are the shared notes? What are the different notes? The shared notes are the B. Great. So that's going to stay where it is. And then, hey, everything else seems like it shifts, right? So this D comes down to the C. This A flat now comes down to the G. And this F comes down to the E. So we're going from... So now we've got E, G, B, C. So now let's play that all together, right? F, A, C, D. Shifting those middle two down. And now... Play that again. Cool. So we've now taken that through another inversion. That's really exciting, everyone. It's taken a bit of time for me to get my fingers around that, my head around that, but hopefully the concept makes sense and how to build up the sevenths and the ninths and then how to work out the inversions. Now let's try to put all three of those together. So let's go from our first inversion. And now the second one. Now the third one just here, which is written for E's. Oh, I think I just about played that all right. Now the second inversion. Now the third inversion. Quite quickly, that's a lot for our brains and our fingers to get used to. It's new, but we've managed to learn a whole new 251 and a whole new key, and then figure out the sevenths and the ninths, and then figure out all the inversions, and we can do this for anything now. It just takes a bit of time and a bit of writing down and a bit of patience, but we can get there. I hope that's really encouraging. I feel very heartened by that discovery. So thank you for learning with me. Hey, we're 3 months into the piano now. This is, I think, lesson 13. So we're just edging over 3 months, and it's really cool to still be learning, still be committed to this. I'm taking on so much information, but in a really exciting way. So I hope you are too. Make sure you drop me a comment down below to let me know how you're getting on, your wins of the week, where you're learning from, any things you'd like to see included in the future, anything that you've gone, that doesn't quite make sense to me, or anything that you've seen me do or say that you've gone, hang on, that doesn't quite ring true, and want to educate me further, then please, I am here for it. It's so exciting to be learning with you. So thank you for your commitment to learning this piano with me, and I will see you soon for the practice along, and then next time for the next lesson. Thanks very much. Have a great week.